Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello and welcome to Strategic Frontlines Clause YouTube channel. To all our guests, नमस्कार, प्रणाम, सत श्री अकाल। आज थोड़ा सा डिले हुआ है हमारा प्रोग्राम क्योंकि जो हमारे गेस्ट हैं उनको थोड़ा टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं, वो कुछ ही देर में ज्वाइन करेंगे। जब तक वो ज्वाइन करते हैं मैं आप लोगों से इस प्रोग्राम के बारे में बातचीत करूंगा। सबसे पहले तो मैं ये बताना चाहता हूं कि जो ऑपरेशन सिंदूर हुआ था और उसके बाद एक और आपने उसी तरह का एक ऑपरेशन देखा है, ऑपरेशन स्पाइडर वेब, जिसका हमने कल डिस्कशन भी किया था। दोनों ही ऑपरेशंस में एक ऐसी चीज थी जो शायद किसी ने उसके बारे में बात नहीं की, nobody spoke about that, and that was about the role of space in all this. You know, the space has enhanced the asymmetric capability of nations even with lesser military capability. For example, यूक्रेन के पास रशिया के कंपैरिजन में the capability is less, but because of space they were able to strike so deep. Similarly, in Operation Sindoor, we have all spoken about the air power. We have spoken about the various missiles. We have spoken about drones, and so on and so forth. But nobody has spoken to us about the role of space in this entire operation. Let me tell you, for the success of this particular operation, space has been a very, very important factor. So today, the guest who is going to come to us is General PANNU. He is the advisor to the Space Industry Association, which is a private body association of all private players of space who are into manufacturing, etc. Our guest has, I think, just joined, so I will add him to the show. I think he is on mobile because of some technical problems. He has joined us. Welcome to the show, General PANNU. I was just talking to them about the role of space in the ongoing operations, whether it was in Russia, Ukraine, Hamas, or in Op Sindoor, and recently in Operation Spider Web. So everybody has spoken about the big weapons. Everybody has spoken about the about aeroplanes and drones and missiles, but the space, which was the quiet player behind this entire scene, nobody has talked about it. And to do that, today we have with us, आज हमारे साथ हैं जनरल पन्नू, जो कि पहले तो IDS में ही वॉज द D6 ऑपरेशन, यानी कि पूरा जो हमारा जॉइंट ऑपरेशंस होता है पूरा हमारे देश का, वो इनके नीचे इनके अधीन था. इट वाज अंडर हिम. And then later on he has associated himself with the space industry. As part of space industry, मैं आप लोगों को बताना चाहता हूँ कि हम लोग हर साल जो है एक डेफसैट करते हैं, यानी कि पूरी इंडस्ट्री को एक साथ मिलाते हैं और फिर स्पेस के बारे में जितनी भी हमारी कैपेबिलिटी डेवलपमेंट रिलेटेड इश्यूज हैं, चाहे वो प्राइवेट इंडस्ट्री की हो या फिर चाहे पब्लिक स्पेस इंडस्ट्री की हो, या फिर whether it is of the government challenges which are there in the development of the space capabilities, all that is discussed for 3 days, and normally it is held in the month of February. और उसके बाद 6 months के बाद एक there is a space congress which is held regularly every year, and this year it will be held from June 25 to 27. The knowledge partner for that is Clause, along with the main conducting organization, which is Space Industry Association, of which General Pannu is a very, very important major player. So with that, a very warm welcome to you, General Pannu, sir.
Thank you, Dushyant. Can you hear me, just to test whether my voice was getting across to everyone?
Yes, you are strength 5 as usual. The space cannot be devoid of communication, because that is one of your responsibilities, or one of the responsibilities of the space. So with that brief introduction, General Pannu, the first question which I have for you, and that is that, you know, in this den of Op Sindoor, and immediately it was followed by the Ukrainians doing Op Spider Web, everybody seems to have forgotten about space. You know, it is like that invisible actor behind the scene whom nobody has actually really brought it on the center stage. So could you highlight in your own words exactly where all the space has really made a difference in the conduct of Operation Sindoor? And you could also cover Operation Spiderweb, because even there the space has been a major actor or a major player. Yeah, you're okay.
I will just. I'm. I think trying to also just about to go into the other. My computer has also got this, so just give me 30 seconds. I think I'm on the other
you've
one.
gone. You've gone, but you'll have to switch off your mobile one.
Yeah.
Switch off the mobile one. Yeah. So I think this is much better. This is much better. So we'll have.
So thank you, Dushyant. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your strength 5, as like I said, space cannot falter on communications.
All right. So sorry for this little glitch, but then we've overcome that. What is important here is to understand that space is the fourth domain of warfare, and cyber is the fifth domain of warfare. And today, when we talk about technology being used as the main driver to empower the war fighting in the new age warfare that we are talking about, it means that the cyber and space have become most important drivers of the multi-domain operations, and they bring the entire technological networking of the land forces, the air force, and also the sea or the naval forces. To talk about the networks, networks are quite similar when you talk about the terrestrial networks, because one is, of course, when you go to space, then you cannot use a wire cable or you cannot use a line. You have to use the spectrum. And once you use the spectrum, it becomes open to interception. And therefore, you have to make sure that there is no latency. But because the satellite sits on top of us, there is a very wide coverage and instant coverage if your satellite is closer to you, which is maybe in the low Earth orbit. It can be anything above 300 kilometers. Normally, it is 160 kilometers and above. If there is a satellite, it is supposed to be in an orbit of low Earth orbit. But the point is that the speed at which it moves is so fast that the exposure that it has on a given point is so little, because in 20 minutes it goes around in the polar orbit or any other. So the revisit, sometimes can be twice an hour. So what happens is that you have to then keep taking a communication satellite higher and higher, and you can even take it to 36,000 kilometers, where it becomes a stationary satellite, so which becomes geostationary, and you can have a constant communication through one satellite. But there is a latency, and there is a problem of how much terabytes worth that can be put on that. So the compromises are being made that you don't send it to the GEO, you don't send it to a LEO, you stick around to MEO, and MEO is less exploited. It means the medium Earth orbit. Now, having covered all that, now I will cover about the three different distinct domains of space in which the military uses. One is the communication, of course, that I spoke about communication. The second is the PNT. It means when you talk about GPS, it is PNT. It gives you position, it gives you time, and it gives you navigation. It means if any tracking is to be done and you have to find the exact location of an object in relation to where you are, then you get the two coordinates and it tells you that this is where you are and this is where you have to go. So the GPS works on that. So it tells you which is the best way to go. But also, if you have to target something, it tells you exactly what are the coordinates of an object that you want to target. And therefore, the third thing, which in addition to the communication and the PNT, the third thing is the ISR, the Earth observation. putting these three together, Earth observation gives you a resolution, it gives you a picture. It can give you electronic picture, it can give you a optical picture, and optical picture means that it can give you how a camera looks at it, but it is electro-optical. It means the whole picture is converted into the electronic mode, and then it gets transmitted again, goes back into the optical mode. So therefore, once you have a picture, you have a location of the target, and you can communicate between A and B. So the triad works together to make sure that any war fighting which is being done, that you are communicating with the Air Force, you're talking about the land systems, and you're talking about the naval systems. There's a complete communication which is satellite. So we call it SATCOM. So satellite communication is extremely important to get these networks together. And if you have to go and target from a non-contact warfare point of view, if you have to strike deep into the enemy territory, it means you can have a much longer range because you're having a much longer look or a deep look onto the target. And if you have a better resolution, you can even look at whether it is a runway or it is an ammunition storage facility, or it is a hangar, or it is a bridge. So from that recognition, which is the factor of a good resolution, you can pick and choose which part of the target you want to engage. The same thing must be programmed in your weapon system. The weapon system is programmed that your exact coordinates which are fed into a weapon platform, then any discharge of ammunition can be programmed, which makes it smarter, because it can be launched from a place, it can be controlled from another place, and it will go and strike depending on how it is being controlled. So therefore, command and control then steps into it. That in command and control, you're getting a full situational awareness. That is where the command decisions are being taken. That is where the targets are being approved or fed. And from there, whatever control is there, then it is given to a field commander. For example, if there's an air defense commander, he will be able to control the entire air defense together from his command posts. But largely, then the large networking can be done through satellite, because if you want to do a much wider coverage of command and control, then the networks got to be brought to a communication center where there's a common operating picture and where is the decision that is being made. So I will at the moment leave it at this, that Pakistan is completely reliant on the Baidu system of China. And therefore, in Op Sindoor per se, whatever Pakistan has done, they use space to not only give them information about the networks which are working in India, how the aircrafts are taking off and where they are and the communications of it, linking up their communication with their Chinese version of Air Force, because I don't want to go into details of how exactly the Chinese and the Pakistanis Air Force, they put the platforms together. But whatever assets are there, aerial assets, were actually factored into a total network which was controlled by Baidu. And from the SATCOM, it goes on to the Earth stations. From there, the command and control happens. So you can feed the Air Force, you can feed the rocket force, you can feed the decision making where they're looking at the targets. So when the Chinese step in, then it becomes very easy to have a ground control, whether it is an air defense control, or it is a communication control, or it is an Air Force control. All these networks can be put together for a common decision making. So Pakistan has been using a Baidu system. It means that the moment you throw a satellite into the space, it becomes a global common, because it has to go around necessarily around the Earth. Or if it is in the geo orbit, which is 36,000 kilometers above, then it can, depending on the curvature, how much area it can cover. So it can cover almost, say, 1/3 of the Earth. So 3 geos put together can give a complete coverage of the Earth. And a number of MEOs, which are much lesser in height, give you a better resolution. It gives you no latency. And you come down to LEO, you require so many more satellites to do the same thing. So Baidu network basically came up as a PNT, but then Baidu itself is now getting into a triad. It means it will give you PNT because the payload can be carried by the same satellite. In any case, anything which is either PNT or it is Earth observation, it has to be put on uh, an electronic beam through which it gets transmitted. So therefore, communication becomes the central carrier of either the Earth observation or the PNT. I will just leave it here. Then we will go into more specifics because I don't want it to be a monologue. I'll request
Yeah,
General
yeah.
Dushyant to talk more about it.
So what I wish to know from you is that while the Pakistanis did have this Baidu support, both in all three domains, I would say navigation, PNT, and also ISR. Now, but as you see the results which happened in Op Sindoor, we were able to a penetrate into the Pakistani air space, especially from the second and the third day, and cause damage with impunity. Do you mean to say that the Baidu was relatively ineffective in giving out the necessary warnings to the Pakistanis about the threats which were coming at them? Or how do you rate the Baidu systems when compared to the other systems which are there, the GPSs, the Western systems which are there? And in our case, we have a Navic which was used by our forces to basically do the guidance, etc., of the weapons and missiles.
Let me go back to first China, and then from China we will come to Pakistan. China has done a lot of research and development into space technology, and it has also borrowed a lot of technology from the Russian space. And they have also done a lot of reverse engineering, and in 2016, they have successfully launched a malicious satellite which works on quantum communications or quantum technology. It means you cannot really penetrate into that. Now, whatever satellite or capability that you develop, you can pick and choose what are the services that you can use for yourself and what are the services that you can give to others.
Okay.
Certain beams can be opened in certain areas and certain beams can be restricted in certain areas. I would suspect that between 26th April, when Pahalgam happened, India started doing whatever warnings went across, and they had earlier had a pattern in which Pulwama to Balakot happened, and they had already had this experience from 2019 onward. So they have 6 years of preparation that if next Balakot happens, they would not allow this kind of a penetration to happen. So it means in 6 years, between Pakistan and China, they would have worked on certain technologies where our systems would start giving them a prior indication of our intention. And more media, unfortunately, our media also inadvertently does not understand what they should put out. Our media, I think, churns out a lot of data. Many experts keep talking in a manner of showing off their knowledge and the credibility to their own people. A lot of veterans are also, I think, doing this harm. That I was discussing with General Dushyant this morning that some 280 news channels have six chaps sitting on it, and how much data is going through, and some 3,000 odd platforms which are working over and above digital platforms are also having experts. So see the kind of data which goes into it to warn them on to probability of what is happening. So the Chinese are very good at data crunching and giving them an AI model of possibilities. Once that kind of AI model of possibilities goes into it, then they can activate the beams accordingly. And whatever equipment, as far as the air defense is concerned, HQ9 and all, which we have been talking about, are the air defense systems. And once you hit at the air defense system, it means that you have achieved two things. One is that you have penetrated it. It means they could not react to the weapon that you used.
Yeah,
Our system
exactly.
could penetrate. Our system could penetrate and hit their system. It means that their entire air defense, which is Chinese may not have, even within 6 years, been able to give them a full technology or the best technology, or have not been able to train their manpower. And the operators possibly were flown from China to operate it because the Pakistanis were not capable of operating these systems. I would even suspect that some of the planes could have been flown by their industry test pilots because
Okay.
they have not tested their equipment anywhere else. This is the first test bed that the Chinese would have realized that this is the first test bed where they will actually go back to the drawing board or do a technology revision of certain things. So I think this is the first time it has happened. I don't think so we can say that this is a capability of India. I think this is where we have actually attacked a virgin marriage.
Hello. I think we have lost him. What he was wishing to say was that probably there was a lot of inaptitude on the part of the Chinese and the Pakistanis in testing their weapons and equipment. In fact, I would put it that the Pakistanis became the guinea pig of China as far as testing of their state-of-the-art equipment, such as the air defense system, is concerned, which was supposedly to be linked with the communication provided by the satellites, etc. They were unable to actually warn them in time, and therefore they got destroyed. And our aircraft then they were able to actually cause the necessary damage. So while he comes online, I will take on from here. The second capability which is there is the position navigation and timing. Now this capability is required for you to carry out precision strikes, especially of the missiles which can be fired either from the land, air, or sea. Now these, when we were firing it, we had actually taken measures to get the necessary positioning and guidance from our Navic system, which is also something like Baidu, but Baidu is a much larger system. It can give you greater capabilities, but you see, if you don't have the people who are trained in such technologies, are going to fail. It is not only technology, it's the effective use of the technology which is important. We were able to effectively use the Navic systems capabilities for navigation and their navigation and positioning. So therefore we were able to precisely strike the targets the way we wanted to target them, whether they were the terror targets or whether they were the airfields, whether they were the hangars, or whether they were the runways, or whether they were the locations close to their command and control centers, etc. So this capability of India to quickly create uh, the ability of positioning, navigation, and timing came very handy in the results which we saw as part of Operation Sindoor. The other capability, which is of ISR, yani, what it means is that intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. I would put it the other way around. First, you do surveillance, then you do reconnaissance, and then you do intelligence. But since over a period of time, this term has been used as ISR, so we continue to use them. So first bit is about the capability of surveillance. You carry out a general surveillance, try to find out where things are, and then you carry out reconnaissance, which is more focused. Once you know that there are XYZ number of terror targets which are there, then you carry out next step is intelligence. And in intelligence, you have to use your artificial intelligence. Data crunching has to be done so that you are able to do a correct target fix, and then only you can actually start the targeting of that particular target which you have selected for the operation. So I was just talking to them about the PNT capability as to how it is used for targeting the various targets, whether it is a Baidu system or a Navic system or any other satellite constellation through which we carry out these strikes. So over to you from where you had stopped.
Actually, our seekers got to also be programmed according to the system that you are using. For example, a lot of systems of ours for targeting are GPS based. But over a period of time, there is a system that you can aggregate different PNTs. It can be Russian system, it can be European system, it can be American system. There are far too many service providers which are giving you the PNT services or tracking services. But they don't give you the restricted services which are high security, high resolution for programming. So in Navic, we have both restricted and open services. But at the moment, there is a lot of work in progress, and a lot of good work has already been done. So our sensors and seekers put together, the sensors and the satellite and seekers on our weapon systems also are programmable with the application. So a lot of work has already happened on that, and mind you, a lot of work happened within a fortnight also. A lot of enablement which was possible, and we were just trying to go into more secure and deliberate protocols. They said, okay, we can be secure later, we can be more deliberate later, but at the moment, let's use it. So when I was talking about that, the Chinese and the Pakistani technology marriage has happened, but I think it is now they would go back to start wedding together from a very different point of view. That if Indians have been able to penetrate, they will go back to the drawing board stage and rectify it. So next Sindoor equivalent should not be taken for granted. I'm sure by now they would have already done a lot of work, because on the go, the technology, if you have the capability to build, if you have the technology to process, then you can also have a technology to very quickly reconfigure. So I think we need to reconfigure, they need to reconfigure. And if there is a hypothetical, which General Dushyant will say it is not hypothetical, it is real, that we are going to fight the next bout, then I think we have to reprogram as of yesterday, that if it is not happening, it is not happening. We're just getting more time to reconfigure ourselves, because next time we want to penetrate, you just might get surprised that we will not be able to penetrate it next time.
So, Jal Pannu, if I were to sum up till now our discussions, one thing which you have clearly laid out is that probably we were able to penetrate effectively was because of the inaptitude, or I would say a relatively lesser familiarity with the Baidu systems and the other Chinese systems integration, etc., which led to us getting a relative advantage of also destroying their HQ9 systems, etc. That is one big takeaway. So we should not be happy about it. We have to start improving further our systems integration, so that and essentially in the military domain, not in the civil domain. So militarization of our space capability is something as priority one until now, as far as our discussion are concerned. Will I be correct in saying that?
You are more than correct in saying that, and why I'm saying more than correct would mean, if I describe, I, having commanded a corps where you're dealing with Pakistan and China simultaneously, I had a feeling, and sometimes feeling with experience actually is very, very important feeling when we talk about it, because when you see the behavior of two speaking the same language and how quickly they come together. I have been actually saying that there are the Pakistani pilots who are already in the PLA or PLAF. The Pakistanis have sat in Gwadar with the Chinese for the Navy. They have done a lot of joint exercises where they were already flying their planes. And if they have done joint exercises together, then those same joint exercises with the Pakistani and the Chinese pilots put together, operating their control headquarters, the technology with the industry coming in, because they have a very good technology base and military industrial complex. Imagine if you were sitting in China and wanting your military industrial complex to be put to test bed, and you were to do it in Pakistan. You would want enemy like India to hit at you and allow certain different methods of defending or attacking, only to check what is less or more successful. Then do the data and then reconfigure a lot of things. They may not have given them the best system. They may have given them a mix of systems. It means some good, some bad, some vintage, some futuristic. The futuristic ones, which are also under half development, would also have got fielded here. So I think we have given them an opportunity. I'm not being pessimist, but I'm being optimist from a point of view that you grant it to your adversary, you will prepare yourself better. But if we can keep laughing at them that they were stupid and they lost so much, and 11 airfields are smoldering, and yet Asim Munir got a promotion and all that. Those are all laughable matters. But if we have to prepare for war, I think those becomes absolutely secondary or absolutely inconsequential. Who gets promotion and what does the Prime Minister
Absolutely.
say and what does the ISI or the terrorists saying? I think that has to be completely, for professionals, put aside, and you prepare for the next one, which is technology
Okay,
based.
General Pannu, I think we have covered two major factors: communications and PNT, which is essentially the space capability required for the military. The third one is ISR. Now, in this Operation Sindoor, how important was the ISR and how was it actually implemented so that we could exploit and leverage it? And also add to it as to what is our actual capabilities and what we need to do to enhance that capability. Will it suffice for a future conflict? As you said, that I'm likely to say that we are going to have the next bout very soon. Whether it is 6 months or 8 months or 1 year, I don't know. But knowing the habit of our adversary, his rationality is in thinking irrationally. That is the rationality of our adversary, is that he thinks irrationally. So with that as a backdrop, what do you think was the role of ISR in this Operation Sindoor, and where do we go from here? Was it enough, or do we need to actually enhance that capability? So over to you.
There are certain things that I will purposely not speak about as the actual
No, I'm not talking.
capability, and
I'm not telling you to speak about
yeah.
specific capabilities. I'm trying to ask you basically, because of the enhanced threat levels. You only
Yeah.
have said that that they are going to get together. They will have another powwow between themselves, China and Pakistan, and will try to be better prepared
No,
for the
I was
future.
coming to answer, but that was only a prelude. But what I'm going to talk about is that when you have a better resolution on the low Earth orbit or a medium Earth orbit, uh, the advantage that India has is that Pakistan is a country which lies north to south. It is an elongated country which is north to south. It is not east to west. It is not a thin line which goes from east to west. It is a line which goes from north to south. So it means any satellite which is in the polar orbit which actually start from the north. And the advantage that India has, that you look, the lay of Pakistan is such that as you keep going south, the whole geography shifts
It's going
west.
away. Yeah,
It's
it's
going
going
away.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine a satellite which is coming from the north to south, and your Earth is moving towards east. At the kind of advantage of the swath that a low Earth orbit will give over Pakistan is a huge advantage. So therefore, when you have the metrics worked out on how a low Earth orbit or a medium Earth orbit on a polar orbit would manifest into giving you Earth observation, it means anything which is submetric would give you more details of the minor field work, and which is above metric, it is anything which is above a meter, 5 to 7 meters or more. It can give you a lot of changes in terrain. It can give you a lot of infrastructure which is coming up. So when you're talking about the ISR, in the earth, in the ISR is actually ulta. It is first the reconnaissance. You have to keep doing reconnaissance, and then you find something unusual. Then you start doing surveillance of that. And once you have done surveillance of that, then you start revisiting and start analyzing, and then you process it, and it becomes information and intelligence. So, for doing reconnaissance, you need not a very deeper or a a resolution which is very minute. You are okay with ordinary resolution that you're generally seeing if there are any terrain changes or if there are any changes which are happening. The moment you start picking out, it is called yawing and pitching. That uh, not yawing pitching, the cue and tipping. In cue and tip, you start looking at certain changes, and then you come to know that there is a ship movement which has happened, for example, or there is something which has started looking different than yesterday. Then you start going down into that what has changed, and then why it has changed, and it has changed to what. So I think in the entire process, we have been able to map Pakistan over a period of time on the changes which have happened over a period of time, on the tracking of certain movements, and then at the end of it, targeting of those. So once the R is okay, S is okay, then the I brings you to exact targeting. And the moment you come to IR, then the OODA loops starts off. In the OODA, the reconnaissance and surveillance will give you the first observation, and then you start orientation on exactly what I you want out of it. So once you have done that, then these days OODA is actually looking at USDA, that if there are networks which is to be shared, it has to be then shared in a manner so that all the targeting agencies, we don't have only one targeting agency such as Air Force. We also have our missile systems. We also have our air defense systems. So in the share thing, then in the orientation to share and then decide. After you have shared, you decide. And S has become again double S. You have to share, but don't share it in a manner that it becomes unsecure. So you have to make sure that it is double S. It is share and secure, and decide and act. And I think this is how the ISR gets processed. And I suppose that if we have been able to hit a hanger, say for that matter, we can certainly come to a conclusion as to what is the kind of resolution and what is the kind of synchronization that we have shooter sensor and space combination that we would have used. Whether we use the indigenous system, whether you use the system which was a global system, or all put together, these are various techniques that every country would use. No country has the luxury to have the entire system working 24/7 to fight a full battle. So therefore, space diplomacy is a very important subject that very quickly the company to company, the G2G, the B2B, all have already worked, and a lot of things have already happened together, so that you have a data plate which is available to you for initial decision. And then you start looking at that, what exactly do you want to do in action? And you act according to how your systems are programmed to target a particular target in a manner of, if you want to hit something. So I think the test of pudding lies in eating, and I think that has quite evidently proved itself in Op Sindoor. But I don't think so we should take benchmark of a Op Sindoor kind of a warfare as a full war. I think it is a very, very, very small portion of the new age warfare. This is not the whole of it. I think,
it's just a cameo. It's just a cameo. I think we have covered the three major issues of space, but I would like to emphasize here to the audience that without these three major capabilities, which is communication, which leads to command and control, and OODA loop, which we talked about, and the ISR and the PNT, we would have not been able to achieve the success which you achieved. To tell you with one example, he gave you the example of hangar. The other example was there was a building behind a masjid. That building was being actually used as the LET headquarters. The missile had to navigate through bypassing the masjid and then hit the target, and both were contiguous buildings. We were able to do that. We avoided the masjid, but we hit the target of Muridke, where the that was all done through this this capability which we are talking about. But this capability is very it has been tested at in a very narrow bandwidth. We will face in the future much wider spectrum of warfare. And remember, we have an adversary on the northern front who is far more capable than Pakistan. So we need to be catering for our full spectrum capability. So therefore, we need to build in numbers. So today, the whole idea is to build in numbers. Technologies are mostly available world over. We have to just start looking at it in terms of numbers so that we are able to cover our entire threat geography. Let me put it this way: threat geography. So with that, what we will do, Jan Pannu, we will take some questions and then we'll call it off because we don't want to go beyond 1 hour. You want to add anything? Go ahead.
I just want to add one thing that you asked me about the ISR. High resolution pictures are already fed into systems, and certain missiles which get fired over a period of time are fed with these pictures. And the missiles have a camera. It is directed through inertial navigation. Then it goes on to satellite. It goes into the lateral arm, and then very close to the target, it starts opening out to do the picture matching. The moment the picture matching happens, then it can go through the window, as General Dushyant is talking about. When I say window, it means I'm talking about specific point of targeting. So I think it shifts from the initial to very close to the strike and the final strike. So this is how it changes.
Yeah. So, but the audience, please do not be in this kind of a, I would say, perception that this is only available with India. This kind of a facility is available with everyone in the world, and it is the person using this and the guile of that strategy which will actually come in handy. Timing of attack, when it is done, what is the enemy's architecture which is deployed opposite you to negate your missile strike, etc. Those are so many things which you have to cater for before a strike. Let's go to the questions. First I will do is that this was also being broadcasted on Gunner Shot. So my thanks to all the Gunner Shot audience for having joined us, and thanks to, on behalf of Jan Shankar, to Debriya Banerjee for becoming a new member, and Padila Aditya for becoming a new member. Thank you very much. I am sure Gunner Shot is also watching it, so he would convey the thanks to you in his program, which is going to start at around 8 o'clock or so. With that, now I come to the live questions which are there. Let me start off with, although this is not really applicable, but let me just flash it to you. We need to buy warplanes with source code and integrate our domestically manufactured weapons with Navic guidance system. We must not depend on critical foreign systems that can be hacked by the US. A quick comment if you can, and we'll move fast because there are a number of questions.
Is that Ajit?
No, it's Ajit. PV Flood Ajit. They have their nickname.
Ajit, I agree with you.
So one line short question. Royal Judge, my only understanding is from 1962, 1965, when it appears on both sides that they were struggling to absorb new technology. Is that correct? To some extent.
The point here is, I would put my finger on the private industry or the industrial capability of a nation. Earlier, the defense industry and the private industry were very different. Private industry could not do anything for the defense, and defense industry could not do much for the private. But the technology, the moment you go from analog to digital to autonomous, I think a lot of private industry, IT and AI and ML, now you will find that the industrial capability of a nation, whether it is defense or not defense, it will contribute hugely to defense. We were early starters as far as space is concerned. In fact, I was very surprised when the British officer said long time back, he says, I'm amazed how can in India, country of this size, who has a poverty alleviation program and space program running concurrently, because poor nations don't have space programs. But I think India, in very early stages, embarked upon a space program. And I think our space program has matured much better than any other country that we are talking about. Chinese have actually caught up because they had an aim to cross America. They had a very high benchmark of achievement while trying to match the technology of America, where technology of America also came in because a lot of investment came from America
Yeah.
to China, and they America kept thinking that because of the cheap labor, cheap land, and all that stuff, allow a lot of stuff to be manufactured in China. So China not only brought the European but also the Russian technology put together and had a huge amount of R&D of their own, and they have been able to achieve this feat. I think we need to start competing with the superpowers. Our competition should not be Pakistan. If we are going to prepare for a war with Pakistan, we will never be able to win the next war because our benchmarks are going to be so low. So
That's
therefore, prepare for the best in the world. Our industry, which has a capability of going into artificial intelligence from industry 4.0 to industry 5.0. I think we need to respect our industry. We need to integrate our industry. We need to empower the research and development. We need to make sure that our financial administrative powers are not used to question the industry or the defense forces, but to supplement and make them competent to get the resources and utilize the defense budgets or the budgets which are given to the industry but properly. So I would say that we were in space much ahead of Pakistan, but I think that is not the benchmark that we should aim to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, let's start working on capability-based development rather than threat-based development. In short, this is what Jan PANNU is trying to say. Adding to the same argument is just a comment. Made in India, thinking better air quality capabilities in space, think India. So this we are already doing it, but we for short term we do need to have some kind of external support if there is something happening in the short term. I'll go to the other questions, which is let me just yeah. Sam Keating. Okay, this is something which you need to answer. Despite own Navic, Gagan, many of our weapons like Scalp or similar foreign guided munition drones use GPS, which is controlled by US, Kargil, and prone to spoofing. Any Venetia for this? You could just highlight what has been done since then.
Actually, you're right in highlighting the Kargil denial of GPS and the Navic. If you really look at the dateline, the Navic program was written after Kargil war. And thank God at that time we were denied this, and we learned that if you deny, then
Then
you also are pushed to push necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention.
yeah. In
Okay.
1998 sanctions is one such example.
Yeah. So sometimes I feel very happy that sanctions are put on you and a denial is there. Now in future there is going to be a huge amount of denial. Navic, of course, we can criticize Navic, but the point is, thank God we have a Navic program running. How much effort goes into creating a satellite with multiple technologies that goes onto the payloads for which by the time a satellite gets configured, there is already something new and better with the advanced countries because they have more money and they have more industrial capacity. The moment you have more investment given to in the hands of private industry, I think certain industry will have to be declared as strategic industry, and it means that they are the ones who become part and parcel of your national security scheme. That industry will have to be given huge amount of budgets and huge amount of confidence and huge amount of trust. And I think here our GPS, that is the Indian GPS, which is Navic, it has been put to test. It is not yet fully available to us for all that we need. But I think this war, we try to cobble up a lot of things together. When you talk about launch on demand, and we've been talking about launch on demand from a perspective that you can't launch if you don't have. You can keep demand, but you need to produce before that. So I think it is, or you already have a launch, but you go for service on demand. And I think that is the kind of investment that we have to do, that the service is already available. You can only subscribe to them when you need and how much you want to need. So it means we need to do a lot of foreign collaboration. The regional associations will have to come in to work together, and we need to have very strong industrial partnerships and strategic partnerships in making sure that whatever we invest in space, it is not only when a satellite is flying over India is usable, it remains a dead investment when it goes on the other side. So I think in the international diplomacy and space diplomacy, a lot of revenue comes from when you are not using your satellite, the spare capacities are made to be given to somebody else. But these are very important decisions, and I think leadership understands them. But they're a little complicated to decide how much to give, to who to give, when to give, and when to deny. So Americans, we are sitting on the opposite side of America. If America doesn't give us GPS or doesn't make money of the GPS, that GPS is going to be dead when half of the globe does not utilize it. So they will not deny it fully because they make revenue out of it. But they will deny it if they know that their national interests are being compromised. And in Kargil, we need an investigation, internal investigation, to say how were the American national interests being compromised when we were fighting Kargil War. We were fighting on a back foot because they got into our territory. So why was America feeling threatened about their national interest is a point of investigation. And therefore, I think we can't on that day decide when the services have been denied that, hey, listen, what is your interest in it? The interests are known to us. So I agree. We need to do all that. Spoofing is definitely going to happen, and we need to cater for that, and we need to cater for that redundancy.
Yeah. So last question, because there is another engagement, like I said. Jag, and it's a very short answer question. Does Pakistan has the expertise to study what went wrong, or is it only China who will be doing so and spoon feeding it to Pakistan, and Pakistan has no other choice but to depend on China? So
I think it was a war. I mean, sometimes you have to say it with a lot of caution, but to answer it shortly, I think it was a proxy technology war of China used by Pakistan, and therefore the Pakistanis are going to be sitting on the side of the Chinese technicians and Chinese operators to learn what went wrong and what right they are doing, if they're doing anything right, and I'm sure they would.
Yeah, last question, because he has asked a number of questions. I thought this I must take. There is much talk about data as the new oil. Thus, big data and AI QC enabled analytics would be required for pattern recognition at speeds to improve decision making. Your views? I think I agree with it. There is no. What do you say?
And the answer is yes.
Yes. So the answer is yes. With that, thank you very much, General PANNU, and thanks to all our audience for having been with us. There were over 200 people in the chat box, so there were a lot of questions, but because of lack of time, we had to stop here with the promise that we'll be getting back to you again with some more analysis, some more national security related issues. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, and Jai Hind. Dushyant, if SIA can extend a support, and you can also ask your viewers if they want to come and attend.
Yeah. So there'll be a Space Congress, and we will be putting out something on this particular channel on the dates, etc., and how you can get in touch with it. I'll request General PANNU to make a small little flyer so that next time when I come on this channel, I'll explain about it, and then we can tell our audience that whosoever is in Delhi, at least they can attend it and make this even greater success, because I find the questions which you people are asking are really good and very searching, and possibly you will get more answers to your queries. Certain answers we cannot give because of certain constraints which we have, essentially because of the openness of digital platforms. So with that, thank you very much, and Jai Hind again.
Thank you, Jai Hind, Dushyant. Thank you very much.